Hello, welcome to Coull Discussions. We're going to be talking about the extinction of the animal species in the Kingdom of Earth.
The Kingdom of Earth, yes.
There's been a paper put out by the UN stating that by 2020, 65% of the animal species of the world will be gone.
It's 3 years from now.
Yeah, it's only 3 years from now. Now, the problem, right off the bat with that report, is it's not 66% of the species from now. It's from when they started in 1970.
Yeah.
So the report started in 1970, and since then, there's been like 53%.
Yeah.
And now, in like 3 more years, it's going to be another 12%. And I don't like that. I think humankind has been a bit of a virus when it comes to pillaging the world, but unfortunately I'm also one of those...
Well, they were saying most of it's from loss of habitat.
Yeah. And
most of it's because we're expanding as humanity, and we're taking over the world. But isn't it, aren't we still only covering like a small percentage of the world's open
No,
land?
but, okay.
Especially when you look in Canada, our population centers are so little.
Yeah.
So it's weird how, there's probably still undiscovered species, untracked numbers, right?
They are finding species, they're finding new ones, but unfortunately what's happening is that in places like Africa, there's been a big push towards what they call bushmeat. Now, because they don't have a sense of agriculture like we do, they just hunt whatever. So, giraffes are actually on this close to being on the endangered list. Like, I just read that too. And it's
my problem is I don't have a problem if people are hunting for food.
Yeah.
If you're using the animal, my problem is when you go kill an elephant, take their tusks and leave the elephant to die.
Well, that's part of the problem. Is some Africans have an easy supply of meat, right? But because they used to, go out and hunt, they would go out and hunt and just, kind of eat the meat just because it's what they used to do. Others, poachers, they go around poaching animals for their horns. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen some pretty nasty pictures of rhinos just with the horns.
They have a documentary on Netflix.
Oh, do they?
About the ivory trade.
Yeah. Okay.
And how big it is in Asia and stuff like that, and it's like huge, and like it's incredible how much like ivory is, and it's not going to stop because the price of ivory just goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more people are like, oh, I want to make more money, so it gives them more reason to have to want to go kill these big elephants and stuff like that. It's like sharks and finning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shark fin soup in fucking Asia is like this big thing, and it's like, I don't care if you kill a shark. I don't care if you fish. Then use the whole damn shark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't just cut their fin off and throw them back in the ocean alive.
Yeah.
And it's
that's what happens. Is just.
But I just wonder. My question is this, and it goes back to because we haven't explored the whole total Earth yet, right? There's still lots of it that's undiscovered and stuff like that. So I just wonder.
Well, most of it's on the ocean, though.
So if we take like this pie of and we've searched like a quarter of it or half of it, say, right? And we're taking our numbers from that half.
Yeah.
Could we potentially be putting out numbers that are wrong? So we only know about half the population that's...
Okay, so...
What if there's a hidden elephant sanctuary somewhere or giraffe?
Most land has been mapped out. Mm-hmm. Most of what's unexplored is the ocean.
And the ocean is what? Fucking 80% of our goddamn planet.
Yeah, it's a large chunk of what the world is made out of, so it's harder to explore. But the thing is like... when you have fishing areas, like, okay, for example, when Newfoundland was discovered, it was rumored, we say rumored because first-hand accounts from that time are very scarce. When they first came into shore, the fish were so plentiful, you could literally just put a scoop in and pull them out. Yeah. That's how plentiful the fish was. In the 90s, strict, heavy regulations were imposed upon Newfoundland and Nova Scotia on their fishing industry and pretty much stopped it. They put 21,000 people out of work. You could only, a fraction of what people were allowed to fish were allowed to fish. They had to let the stocks recover. Now, we know that this is the way it is. Is like overfishing will just kill off populations, and people have to discover different ways of fishing. Like, before, people used to fish with just a net, pull it through, and scoop up whatever they have. Now, they have a way of dredging the bottom of the oceans and scooping up everything. And these things are indiscriminatory when it comes to picking up whatever.
Yeah, they don't just pick up the fish that you're looking for. They pick up everything and anything that's in the ocean.
So it completely destroys the ocean. It destroys habitats. So, the fish population dwindles. So it's one of those things of... so on land, it's the rainforests are disappearing because people are using... we as a human species are cutting trees down faster than we're letting them grow. Now, in Canada, not necessarily. We've had a strict regiment of environmental regulations to prevent this, but that doesn't stop, places like South America, Africa from doing the same thing. Like, in Africa, bush meat is so popular that the habitat isn't being destroyed, but the creatures are just disappearing. So it's...
I just wonder what the answer is, you know what I mean? Because unfortunately, we're too stupid as a society to realize that we're doing more harm than we are good, you know what I mean? It's like, we're just all gonna... What are we all supposed to be, vegetarians? We're all supposed to go eat plants? And then we're going to be out of sunflower seeds by the, 2020 or whatever. Like, I make a joke of it, but obviously it's a serious thing. But what is the answer? We've tried regulation, legislation, and it doesn't work. People still go out there and illegally hunt and illegally fish and illegally poach and stuff like that. And it's like, what do you do?
It's one of those... It's unfortunately a very catch-22. It's like in the developed nations like Canada, the U.S., you can impose stricter regulations because we have money, we have the ability, we have technologies to do the things that need to be done. Like, you can do better methods of farming. You can stack people more densely into less space.
But if we're just legislating stuff and making people have to find more expensive ways to fish or to forest or to do whatever, it in turn costs us more money. And on top of that, fish now costs, instead of $1, it's now $5 because that fisherman has to use this special scientific fishing rod that only catches salmon.
No,
you know what I mean?
And the thing is, the more expensive methods we use, poorer countries can't because they don't have the money to do that. So they're just going to do whatever they need to do to.
Said restaurant will just go to Africa and be like, "Hey, supply us our fish." Because you're cheaper, because we can't afford to get it from the fish market here in Alberta, so we're going to go to the U.S. for the beef because they have a cheaper way of getting it, you know what I mean? And it's like... So, I'm going to veer off into fucking space here, probably. But I think this all comes from our value on things, our drive for profit, our drive for money. And it's like, to me, like, we have to value every life on this planet. We have to value animals, humans, trees. I know they're not...
even the Bible. Even the Bible says that after the flood, man was given dominion over the animals to take care of them, to watch over them, and to make sure that they stay alive. Because I guess before the flood, animals and people lived in harmony. But it's true. Humankind has a huge stake in how things are going to work. Wow, I sound like a hippie. I do.
It's the very hippie mentality that we have to live in harmony with one another. But I think we can take the hippie mentality and actually learn from it, because when you think about it, we're such a driven society for monetary gain that we don't care what we do to, like, when you look at your own life, when you look back at it and go, what have I done to get where I am? And have I lived a perfect life? Of course, everybody's like, yeah, oh yeah. But when you really look at it, have you been an asshole to people? Have you been a dick? Yeah, I have.
Have you stepped over people?
Have you stepped on somebody to get to where you are?
Somebody to get where you are?
And if you say no, then you're just, you're part of the problem. You are.
Okay, okay. There might be some people there that haven't done horrendous things that maybe we have done, but, you know, at some point in time you have done something that you probably shouldn't have done.
You've hurt somebody along the way. Now, if you're a hunter and you hunt animals, ask yourself, have you used every part of this animal that you've killed? If you answer no, and I guarantee you all of you have answered no because you probably throw the fur away, or 90% of hunters probably don't use all the carcass. So there you go.
All right. Okay. Now I'm going to qualify this. 90% of hunters in North America probably don't.
Yeah, in like the Western world.
There we go.
Who hunt for sport.
Yeah. In Africa, you know, the bush meat aspect, they could be using every aspect of the animal,
and that's
just it's like clear cutting. You kill everything, and you don't let anything repopulate.
Yeah.
A good example of this is there's a tuna fishing show on one of the channels, and they actually talk about this. Is that there's they know what the population is, and you're only allowed to hunt, or you're only allowed to fish a certain amount of the population and for a certain time of year. So once the quota for the year is caught, nobody's allowed to tuna fish anymore. And
it's like crabs; they're only allowed a certain quota and stuff like that. I think there's a lot like in the fishery industry. I think there's quotas all over the place for that reason, because it was overfished.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody just went in and took all the fish and went, whatever. Who cares? There's so much. Let's just take it. We'll all make a ton of money and we'll be fat and happy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's one of those things of you have to make a choice. There are obviously ways, you know, grain-fed animals. You know, there are processes in which you can go to learn these things and learn a little bit more of a sustainable system. But you have to be willing to do some of that sustainability. The opinion is like we have to take care of animals. We have to make sure we leave them a habitat to live in, and not a tiny little patch. I'm talking about like giant swaths. Like in Canada, we have probably I think it was 10 times the amount of national park space as we do actual people space, and I think that's a good idea. But in Canada, we have a lot of land. You know, it's easy for us to say something like that.
In my opinion, and I'm very uneducated towards the scientific aspect of all this stuff and stuff like that, of climate change and all that stuff, we're going to destroy our world. And it's because, and when I say this, I include myself, we as a society, we're too stupid, and we don't give a shit enough to do anything about it. There's not enough people. And by the time there is enough people who give a shit, we're going to be overpopulated. It'll be too late.
And that is actually one of the things in the UN report is the extinction level events. They actually gave it a name. I don't know what the name is because it's really long and I'm horrible at trying to pronounce names. So they've actually labeled this time period that we as humans are in, and it's basically the moment before extinction, because they said out of 9 things you need to hit like 4 of them,
and we're probably hitting 7,
and we've hit 5 and 2 of them are bad. So right there,
we're screwed. We're screwed as a civilization, as a society. We've done too much damage, I think, already. We're too far in to go back.
There needs to be a purging of humanity for the world to be able to survive. And
unfortunately, I agree. There's too much people. There's too many people.
It doesn't happen, not the way it used to, because there used to be major wars that used to be fought. Now everybody.
There could be a war coming up soon, if everybody.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
And thanks for
tuning in.
Make sure you guys check it out. It's a report on the Guardian, but it's also a UN report. You can go to the UN website and download the PDF and stuff.
Save the whales. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and all that stuff, guys. We'll see you later.
Yeah.